Hello and welcome back to Wheels of Interest. Today, what can I say about today? It's flipping cold. I've got to do the TD5 service. This is my workhorse. This vehicle we've had 10 years maybe. I'm not quite sure when we actually purchased this particular TD5. We had one before this, which my father rolled into a ditch in winter time. It then got promptly nicked by somebody before the insurance people could pick it up, and we bought another one on the back of the proceeds of the insurance from that one. And this one here we've had, say, about 10 years. It's due for a service. I try and maintain and service it every 12 months. It does maybe 5,000 miles a year, but all of those miles generally are heavy lugging miles, pulling tractors, trailers, cars, that sort of thing, and it gets its fair share of work. So the last time I actually serviced this, changed the oils, I think I did the antifreeze at the same time, or I did the engine oil at least, was October 2023. So we're 15 months since the last service, and it is well overdue. Also, I haven't had the wheels off it for quite a while, and I need to change the brake fluid. The brake fluid I don't think has ever been done, not in my time of owning the vehicle. I'm not sure if I inherited this from my father, and I'm not entirely sure what he had done. I certainly haven't done the brake fluid on it in the time we've had it, and I'm pretty sure I haven't done the axles either. Did the gearbox oil one time when I put a new clutch in this, but the brake fluid definitely needs doing. And so I've got to get the wheels off and see if I can free off all of the brake nipples to bleed the brakes. So that's going to be a challenge in itself. Basically, everything that needs doing on this is all the fluids, filters, except for antifreeze, because I did the antifreeze last year, as I say, the last time I serviced it. And that includes power steering as well. And what I'm proposing to do is take you through everything that we do on the fluids of this vehicle: axles, gearbox, transfer box, engine, and fuel. But I have a problem, and that problem is I can put my fingers in the rear exhaust pipe in the wrong place. So you can see I've got a yawning great hole in the silencer pipe, and further back over the axle I've got another hole starting to appear. So before I can do anything else, I've got to change this exhaust box. I've picked up a new one from British Parts in Stevenage, company that I came across a couple of months ago, was recommended to me by my Jag specialist. They deal in Jaguar, Landrover parts, and very good service. They've got a place at Chichester and a place in Stevenage, which is local to me, or local to me where I am, where I keep my stuff. And I've got the back wheel off already, which is looking good. The nature of the hole has basically been blowing exhaust gases at the brakes, which obviously isn't very good because they're now covered in soot, so I've got to clean all that up. But I'm happy to report, I've not looked at these brakes for a while, but I'm happy to report that actually I was expecting to look at worn out brake pads, but they are actually not too bad condition, so I'm quite happy with those. They will go for a little bit longer. They're on the back, these ones, obviously, so they don't get quite the same wear. But yeah, I'm happy. The disc is in good condition. There's only a tiny lip on the edge. There's no bad scoring, no bad corrosion. Very happy with that. Everything's nice and oiled. And while I'm under here, and I'm going to take the opportunity of cleaning out all the mud and muck that's under here and giving it a bit of a coating of some waste oil just to keep the rust and the salt at bay. We are in the middle of winter right now. As I said, it is flipping cold today. I can't get this in the this Land Rover in the garage because it won't fit. And even if it did fit, there's a Mini in the way, so I've got to do it outside. So without further ado, let's get this exhaust box off. Okay, I've not done this before. The rear box goes basically over the rear axle, and I'm hoping that I haven't got to do anything special except undo these 3 bolts, take the rubber mount off the exhaust hanger at the back, and just basically feed it through over the axle. I'm hoping that is how it's going to be. I've not looked at the book to see how it's done. It looks fairly straightforward, so as I say, I'm just hoping that that is what it's going to be. So give them a clean. I'm very surprised that my bolts aren't actually rusted out, because they normally do on exhaust, as you probably know if you do any of this sort of work. And they're nearly always rotten and the threads have gone and everything else. I have got new bolts, but if I don't need them, I won't use them. But we'll see how we go. I think these are mild steel, so the bolts I've got actually are stainless steel. So if they don't undo, I'll have to cut them off, obviously. It looks like the hexagon heads have decided to expand a little bit, so I think to be on the safe side, I'm going to be putting new bolts on. The other thing I don't have is a ramp. I do everything pretty much on the floor, and that's going to have to change. I'm not getting any younger, has to be said. Unfortunately, the march of time, while I can still get up and down off the floor, it's not ideal, that's for sure. Still, I'm not whinging completely. And given the fact that it is pretty cold today, it's definitely not going to warm up. There's no sunshine. It's very hard frost overnight, and as I said, there's no sun. It's very cloudy. There's no wind, thankfully, so there's very little wind chill or anything like that. So the air temperature is what actually we can feel, is what it actually is. But I still think it's about -1 or -2. There's still ice on the ground in places. So yeah, it's not the best place or time to be working outside, laid on the floor. But the job's got to be done. I'm not spending 150 quid an hour at a Landrover garage having it done for me. So if I can do it, I will. Well, so far so good. That's 3 bolts loose, 1 off, 1 nearly off, and the other one coming now. I'm working blind right now because I can't get far enough underneath. Just looking over there on the rear axle, looks like I've got a bit of an oil leak. That'd be interesting to see how much oil I need to put in when I take the level plug out. I'm going to change it anyway. I'm not too worried because it's a 20-year-old Land Rover at the end of the day, and they always used to say with serious Land Rovers, how do you know when to put the oil in? When it stops leaking out. And yeah, when you've got oil leaking all over the bottom of a Land Rover, it's not a problem because it stops the rust. In fact, the more oil the better. Oh, this one is the tricky one. It's always the one at the back, you know, you can't see, or the one you can't get too easy. There we go, we're nearly there. We're on. Yes. Right, last one to go. I've spent the best part of 40 years laying on the floor fixing forklift trucks, and yeah, I've had a bit of a time away from it, but actually it is a bit of a happy place really, fixing stuff. There we go. Right, that's the 3 bolts out. And she's down. Next thing is the rubber mount at the back. It's all covered in mud. I think we're going to need a screwdriver for that. And possibly some silicone. She's out. Right, next jobble is trying to get this fed out from over the axle. Let's see how we get on. Well, I got that bit off. That's not going to help me putting the new one back in, but that one's out. And this is a Brit part, so this means this is not original. I can get the old one out now because I can thread it through this way. But how the hell I'm going to get the new one in? It's anyone's guess. And there you go. That's how thin it was. Oh dear, this is another hole there. And another hole on that bend there. That's well overdue for change, that one. Right, so the challenge is we've got to get the new one in. Wish me luck. This is interesting. I think I know what I'm going to have to do is jack the body up. Give me clearance under the bump stop. I don't think I've got much choice. Bear with me, gentlemen and ladies. I've just got my big ratchet jack just to give me a bit more space and a gap to get over the axle. And she's in, just like that. Wow, what do you know? Absolutely blinding. Fantastic. Oh, just love it when a plan comes together. Bit of silicone on the rubber. The rubber mount is in good condition. It's not rusty, not perished, not rotten. That's gone in there beautiful. Just new gasket. Simple as 86p. Nice and easy. Always put a new gasket. I'm pretty certain that the flange on the main silencer in the middle of the car is in good condition. It looks alright, it's a bit rusty, but I'll give it a bit of a clean up with a wire brush. It's nice and smooth, there's no pits or nothing, nothing's breaking off. So we'll get that on. Okay, I've got some M8 hexagon stainless steel screws with flat washers, both sides, spring washers, standard nuts. And just a case, literally lining it all up. Find my gasket and hope it fits. Let's hope it's the right exhaust pipe after all this. We're in. Right, that's one in. I've got a face full of dust. That's another problem working under a car on the floor, and you can't get away from the rubbish falling out of it. That's two in. And finally, I think with two in, number three will go easy. There you go, she's in. Right, there we go. Stainless steel everything I've got here. Really had my fill of rusted bolts on exhaust pipes over the years. I really have. You can't go wrong with non-ferrous fixings, whether they be brass or stainless. It saves you so much hassle. So much hassle. Good job I've got some flat washers as well, because the hole clearance is pretty big. I mean, what's come out is M8. Maybe the originals were M10, I'm not sure. But it's not an original one that I took out. The silencer was a Brit part, so that is not a Landrover part. I think the main box though is original by looking at it. There's not a, I can see a marking on it. It's not Landrover, but it's not Brit part neither. Anyway, it's in good condition. I'm not going to touch it. It's only this tail box that's the problem. And I'm very happy with that. It's about 60 quid. With the gasket and the VAT, £62 I think. You can't really
complain at that. It's a pretty hefty bit of kit. I mean, the pipe on it is what, nearly 2 inches diameter. Yeah, and it's got a silencer box with it as well, so you know, it's quite a lot of engineering to make it. So not a bad price. Not original, of course. You know, if it was original, it's probably about 300 quid. Like all original parts are, genuine parts. Anyway, we're in. We've got the 3 done up. Finger tight. Just get it done up with the old ratchet and spanner. I mean, the cost of exhaust pipes now for the cars like this, you know, there's a case for putting stainless steel on, but really, when you can buy an exhaust pipe or this part for 50-60 quid, you're not going to want to put a stainless steel one on, are you? Especially on an off-road vehicle. All you got to do is hit it with a rock and the blooming thing's going to be damaged beyond repair. So yeah, quite happy with what we've got. Now, I've left the difficult one till last, of course, the blind one. Can't see that. Doing this totally by feel. Never mind. There we are, we're in. That was the easiest exhaust change I've ever done. Right, let's see if it leaks. It's looking good. Pressure on the back tailpipe. Put the hand over it. Yep, not leaking. We're in good shape. And it's much, much quieter. Brilliant. Okay, well, the next thing I want to do today, and I'm not going to change the brake fluid today because it's in the afternoon now, and if I start this job in the afternoon, pound to a penny, it's going to go wrong, and I'm going to be stuck without a car because I need to get home. So, but what I do need to do is I do need to make sure that these brake nipples, these bleed nipples on the brake calipers, they undo. Many times I've had problems with getting these undone. These are quite robust screw threads. In other words, the diameter is quite large compared to sort of normal brake calipers, but they nearly always seize inside the caliper, and the very worst thing that can happen is you're trying to undo it and it shears off and you are stuffed and you are left without a car, because once that shears off, brake fluid escapes, you have no brakes. So I'm going to give it a wire brush around, a little bit of squirted WD-40 carefully so I don't get it on the brake discs and the pads, and give all of this a bit of a clean up and see if it will undo, and then I'm going to try the other side on the rear. And if I know they undo, then I'm halfway there with getting the fluid bled. So let's give it a go and see what happens. Given the fact that this vehicle is 20 years old, in fact it's a 2001, so that makes it 24 years old this year. And you look at these brake lines here, no corrosion. Absolutely spot on, not a problem with these at all. I'm actually quite confident that these are going to come off quite well. They're 11mm, and I've got a long socket on at the moment. Don't know whether that's a good idea or not. Yes, she's a done. She'll undo. We're good. Right, fantastic. That one's a good one. Bit of squirt of your WD-40 just to keep the water off. Fantastic, it's a good one. We'll get on to the other side. Well, well, don't you just love it? Best laid plans and all that. It's nearly dark. It's gone 4 o'clock, and I'm trying to get this wheel off. And alloy wheels, what did they do back in the day? Locking wheel nuts. How good are the locking wheel nut adapters? Absolute rubbish. I was lucky to get the one off on the other side, and it's all split, and I've welded it up as best I can, and I've got this one loose, which I'm relieved about, and it's a good job I wasn't stuck on the side of the road with a flat tyre.
because I would have been in deep doo-doo. Anyhow, I'm going to get this wheel off, check this brake nipple, have a clean around, scrape the mud out, and I'm going to have to call it a day because it's getting colder and it's getting dark. I don't know if you remember my Jimny video when I did the brakes. It's actually entitled I Hate Brakes, because I honestly hate brakes. Mainly because Series 3 Landrover brakes are notoriously difficult to bleed. And I had a really bad experience one time. I was doing some for somebody else and it took me absolutely ages to bleed these brakes. And it made it worse. I was trying to do it on my own. It was a complete and utter nightmare. And I've never recovered from it. And every time I do brakes, it seems to go badly wrong, which is why I want to be belt and braces to make sure everything works and undoes. So let's see if this one will undo. Yes, it will. You beauty. Torque setting for these, 130, 140 Newton meters, something like that. Not as much as you might think. They're pretty hefty nuts and bolts, but you haven't got to go down blinding mad. But whatever you do, you must torque them up. Make sure they're all the same, and they're all set to the correct setting as per manufacturer's recommendation. I don't know if you know, but when you get a hand spanner in your tyre changing kit on your car, the length of the handle is actually the correct length for the nuts that you're doing up for a standard sort of sized person and the strength of that person. So when you put your spanner onto your wheel nut and you put some pressure on it, you go as far as you can with this lever, and you are more or less in the ballpark figure of 130, 140 Newton meters for these wheels, for these nuts. I'm not sure if anybody knows that, but if you look at one for, let's say, a Ford Focus, it'll probably be only about that long, whereas this one's nearly a foot long, if not a bit further actually. And that's why they are a certain length. And that's also why you shouldn't put anything on the end of them to tighten them up even tighter, because you'll be overstretching the threads and overstretching the studs. And when it comes to getting them off again, you might struggle. So, useless fact of the day, or rather not useless fact of the day, interesting fact of the day. Your spanner that you get in your tyre change kit, or your wheel change kit, is that length for a reason. There you go. If you didn't know that, you know now. Right, we're all tightened up. Just got to put on my silly little cap onto the locking wheel nut. And there we go, she's on. Right, and it's dark. Pretty much, near as damn it. I'm going to call this video here. Didn't do as much as I wanted to do. I wanted to get the front wheels off, try those brake nipples as well. But we have two positives. One, the silencer is changed. Two, we have got the brake nipples on the back freed off, so we know that they're going to undo. Happy days. I'm happy with that. And I've cleaned them all around, and they've got greased up so that they're not likely to undo themselves, not likely to rust in. Happy, great. Got the mud and crap off that I've got underneath there, but that needs a pressure wash, but I'll do that next time around, I think. Need to do the front ones, and we need to do all the fluids. I'll catch you on the next one. Thank you for watching. If you like seeing what we do, put a subscribe down if you haven't already subscribed. Hit the like button, share with your friends, make a comment if you wish. It'd be great to hear from you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Take care and bye for now.